Welcome to Design Your Life with Sandy. If you're new here, I am your host, Sandy Yang. This is a place where we have real conversations about life, love, spirituality, personal growth, and of course, manifestation. Let's dive in. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. Okay, I'm super excited about today's episode. I feel like I say that about every episode, but this one I have my dear friend, Heather Whitaker, on the podcast. She is also my coach, and I just am so excited for you to get to know her. So let's get started. So let me know if this is you. Like, you're someone who's super self-aware, you know what you want, you know exactly what you want, but somehow you keep getting stuck in the overthinking, the planning phase, or just waiting to feel more ready. And if that sounds familiar, you really need to listen to this episode. And if you love this episode, you have a friend that you think could benefit from it, send it their way. They will thank you later. So back in January, I was feeling pretty overwhelmed with work. I just felt a little stuck, a little overwhelmed. And I reached out to Heather for coaching. And I'm telling you, I am so glad I did because Heather's coaching sessions left me just feeling very clear. So, like many people, I have big goals for my business and for myself this year. I was getting a little stuck and a little overwhelmed with taking the action, the executing. And I kept thinking like I had a discipline problem, and turned out I didn't have a discipline problem, and neither do you. So really, I just had to understand what is called my protector parts and be able to differentiate them when they interfere. So my quote unquote authentic self can get back in the driver's seat where she is able to curate clarity, make aligned decisions from her knowing, and take actions from that place to create real sustainable momentum. I know perhaps that sounded a little vague, but I promise we will explore this further in this episode. Heather is a clarity coach. She is excellent at spotting patterns. She has a way of seeing what is unsaid, and she's really good at helping you connect the dots. She created what she calls the self inventory lab to help her clients clear the noise, uncover what's in their way, and move forward with a roadmap that's built for the individual. Her work uses human design for energetic clarity and internal family systems for deep parts work to help release the patterns holding you back and return you to your core self where you can create desired and constructive change. So I am stoked for you to dive into this episode. I promise you this episode will help you see self-development, mindset work, and healing in a whole new way. And if you feel called to connect with Heather, follow her on Instagram at _Heather Whitaker _. And of course, you can book a session with her. I am doing a 3-session package, but check out her offerings. Everything is linked in the show notes. And without further ado, I hope you enjoy the episode. So thank you for doing this, Heather. I'm super excited to chat. As you know, we've had like 2 coaching sessions very recently, and I just love them. They brought me so much clarity, like your perspectives and your coaching just offered me so much. It was delightful. It was refreshing. It really got me out of my head. And I would just love for more people to know about your coaching approach and your framework. But before we talk further, I would love for you to do a brief introduction about yourself, your business, your human design, and astrology basics, like your big 6.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much. I just want you to know that like on my manifestation list for 2026 was to be on more podcasts. And so this is my first one of the year. I haven't been on one in almost a year. So I'm just so grateful to be here, Sandy. So thank you so much. And you and I think we should say that we've known each other for a really long time. So it's such a beautiful thing because you've also given me human design readings way before I was certified in human design and astrology. So it's a beautiful kind of full circle moment on us doing this together. So very happy about it. But okay, so I am a 2-4 manifesting generator through and through. When I found out that I was an MG back in 2017, it just felt like I just felt so seen, like, oh, this makes sense. And also my profile being a 2-4. I mean, I absolutely need that alone time. That's why I get up at 4 a.m. in the morning before my boys wake up, before my husband, before the world is awake, so that way I can just have time to kind of recharge before the day starts. But I definitely, the 4 in me loves community and connection and networking. Um, I think that I believe so strongly in understanding your human design because obviously, as you know so well, it gives you your manual and your blueprint. And once you have that understanding, it's so much easier to move through the world. So, being a sacral center, there is a little bit of some hesitation in all of my desires with my yes no sacral center, but when I can connect to it, it is fast and on fire. But I am a Taurus sun, May baby over here, and I have my Cancer as my rising, and I'm a Sag moon. You said the big six, so what else am I missing?
So your Venus, your Mars, your Mercury,
Okay, so I know
if
that
you
my
know
Venus
those
is in
things.
Taurus. I know that my Venus is
Okay.
in Taurus, but I don't know about my Mars. And what did you say, Saturn?
Your Mercury.
My Mercury. I don't know those two, but
Oh my God,
it's funny. The
Heather, you
reason
need to know.
I know, well, and it's so funny because the only reason why I know that my Venus is in Taurus is because last year when I was trying to figure out like what's my style, I like didn't know how to dress myself being like a mom of two little boys. I saw somewhere on Instagram that was like, go to ChatGPT and put in your Venus and that'll help you decide like how to dress. And it really did help when I put it in on like if my Venus is in Taurus, like how should I, what colors, what type of clothes and textures. Let me tell you, hot tip, that is definitely the way to go.
Okay, I actually love that so much because I love your branding photos. Um,
Thank
I
you
am
so
not an
much.
expert. Oh yeah, they look great. I'm not an expert in color theory, but you're like a soft autumn, and it just is feels very coherent to you. And one of my friends, she actually does styling based on your astrology, sun,
Oh,
Venus, and rising. So that
oh my
lands,
gosh.
like that tracks. Yeah.
Okay, well, you
Um,
must send it my way because, we know that ChatGPT is not enough. It can never replace a person. Let's say that right now. It can give you information, but I would love to connect with that person because I feel like, and this is kind of so on brand with me in general, like there is so much information and so much noise out there. And so, how do we clear the clutter? And by having these different roadmaps or templates or even people to like reference, I feel like is
mhm.
so beautiful in being able to help you move through the world in a way that feels like it's more like true and authentic to you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, okay, I love that you have a Sagittarius moon because I have a Sagittarius moon and your
Really?
Cancer rising. Yeah. So your Cancer rising, I feel like it just blends so well because with your coaching, because it feels like very nurturing, if you will.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And on your social media, on your emails, which I love, by the way, everyone go follow Heather. What's your Instagram?
So it's underscore Heather Whitaker underscore.
Okay, great. Easy enough. So I was saying how your Cancer rising really lands. your coaching just feels very understanding and very nurturing. Obviously, you're empowering people, but you also just feel really safe. Being on your Instagram page, seeing your stories, like it doesn't feel like sometimes you follow a coach and it's like let's fucking go energy. But when I see you on those platforms, I'm like, oh, like she really gets it because she's been there, and you really just feel like very held and seen in your sessions, but also empowered, which I appreciate.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And the reason why that is so meaningful to me is because the way that I coach is how I've done it to myself.
Mm.
Back in 2017, I had, a life altering event. So you could say it was a rock bottom. And I truly had to basically burn it down and rebuild on getting to know myself. And so I've tried every single modality you could possibly think of. And so the way that I coach is because these are all of the things that I found for myself personally moved the needle. Yes, I'm a coach, and yes, there's like this nurturing side, but I am a very like analytical brain. I look at things as very um like I like to reverse engineer. Where am I trying to go? What do I want? What's in my way? How am I going to get there? And not like you said from like a rah like let's freaking go kind of a situation, but like what is it that I want? And also who's driving? Like who is attempting to get there and why can't I? And so again, I think that I really appreciate you saying the nurturing side because I feel like it's like a really great combination of using data points, right? Like everything is our teacher. All of this information we have, we need to use, but also at the same time, we don't want to rock the boat so much that we feel um, unsafe in taking action.
Yes, that is actually so important. And such a breath of fresh air. Also, really lands with your like Taurus Venus, Taurus Sun, because your
Mm,
coaching kind of just like grounds you and is super practical.
yes, that's exactly what I want.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't feel like you're over analyzing yourself or overthinking. You're just like, okay, like getting grounded in your body. Like, what is it that I want? How do I get there? What's in the way? Like, boom, boom, boom. Um,
Exactly.
yes. When I like read your emails, you talk about you work with this kind of woman who is ambitious, who is driven, but maybe get a little stuck in the executing, which I am sure is speaking to so many people. And what really landed for me is that you said is not a personal failure, is not a discipline problem. So what is it? Tell us.
Well, first of all, that's really me talking about myself. And so I want
Mm.
to just acknowledge that, for so long I was this high achiever and moving so fast. Granted, some of that is the MG energy that I have in me. But what happens is we get into autopilot where we are just in default mode and we're not like stopping and checking to see who's in the driver's seat. So to your point is like what's getting in the way? It's interference. And it's a concept that honestly, Sandy, came to me in an Instagram story. I know that that's wild to say. So, yes, I have a certification in human design, just like you. I'm parts work informed. So, what that means is I've taken some courses on understanding internal family systems and these parts works that we have within us. But what I realized was is that we can know all this information and still not be able to move or still feel like we're trudging through mud. And so what happens is we typically start to blame ourselves. We start to feel like, what's wrong with me? In a lot of other coaching rhetorics, we might be able to say like shadows and triggers. And a lot of those words feel negative. and it makes you feel like heavy and, oh my gosh, I have so much healing work to do. And how am I ever going to do this? This is so overwhelming. I'm not going to do anything at all. And so what I really like to be able to say is that our biggest manifestation, the biggest goal, right, is to become our most authentic self. But what in the frick does that mean? It's such this
Right.
like very like ethereal word. And so, since you're a human design reader, you know that your authentic self could be helped, shaped, and determined with human design in your blueprint. And obviously, a big part of that for you is astrology. So for me, if we know what your human design is, and yet you still can't move forward, what is in the way? What is interfering? And so interference is actually these protector parts. We've got these protector parts within us that are doing just that. They are trying to keep us safe. They are risk assessing at all times. And so I like to be able to step back and say, okay, you know who you're supposed to be, right? Who we came to this earth to be. We know what you want. That gap in between of the knowing and the doing is the interference. But just knowing that there's interference isn't enough. We actually have to understand, am I being proactive in trying to do something, which is forcing, controlling, overanalyzing? Or am I being reactive, meaning avoiding, kind of fleeing, running, numbing out, maybe a little bit more destructive patterns? And so being able to stop, pause, right, and recognize, okay, I know I'm not in the driver's seat. I know I'm not acting as myself. Who is? It's not what, it's who. Is it a proactive part or is it a reactive part? And as you know, in sessions, I like to specifically name them because it really helps us connect to them. It also allows you to see, wow, they're just here to keep me safe. But it's not necessary anymore because I can truly start to build trust within myself to take the steps forward. That was like a really long, drawn out way, but do you feel like that was a good explanation based on our sessions?
I thought that was excellent. I loved it. Yeah, so I love what you said about human design because before our first session, I like knew my design, but I never like thought of I had not thought about it for a very long time. And one thing you said was that your undefined centers could be where interference gets louder. Is that correct?
Yes. Hmm.
Okay, can you
So
elaborate a
as you
little bit on
know,
that?
yeah. So as
Mm,
you know, is that our undefined centers are where we are more likely to absorb outside factors. And our defined centers, our closed centers, are where we have more opportunity to observe.
mm-hmm,
So if we have these open centers that are could absorb, that's where our protector parts, our reactive parts, or our proactive parts are like, whoa, there's an opportunity here that Sandy might be absorbing from the outside. So instead, we're going to step in and we're going to protect her, aka keep you small, which means that you're not giving your, I know you're a projector, your projector self the opportunity to be able to make those decisions, to receive the way that you're supposed to be looking at all your gifts, and I'm thinking about your incarnation cross and just your profile in general. So I find that when I'm in session, I'm not giving a full human design reading because it's not necessary. But what I'm doing is I'm looking to see, what is your energy type? How are you best making decisions? Because let me tell you this, so many people come to me with decision fatigue. I know what I
mm,
want, yet I can't seem to make the decision. So the first thing I want to do is look to see, what's your energy type and how are you meant to make decisions? And then I'm going to ask you, well, how are you currently making decisions? Because that's where I can see these protector parts coming in. Are you making
yeah.
decisions reactively or are you making decisions proactively? And I can pinpoint it based on these open centers. So I'll just give you an example. I have an open
Great.
ajna and an open crown, which
Mm-hmm.
means I'm easily overwhelmed. I will overanalyze. So both of those are going to be protector parts. My manager is going to step in to overanalyze, to look everything over, make sure there's perfection. My reactive part is going to step in and look to see this feels overwhelming. No, thank you. Let's just not. And so the fact that I know I have these open centers allows me to see when I'm not coming from a place of authenticity. Again, using my sacral center as my decision maker as an MG. So I like to look at all this as awareness. Who is at the table? Who is driving? None of it is bad. In fact, it's so, I want to say it's comforting knowing we've got these parts who are care about you so much that they want to protect you. What we want to do is create space between your highest self, your authentic self, your felt self, between these parts so that that space is going to allow them to take a step back.
Mm. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. I think I told you after our session, somebody told me the Disney movie Inside Out is about parts work. So I actually watched that movie. So
And
if you've seen that movie, there are all of those different voices. There's anger, there's embarrassment, disgust, joy, sadness, fear. So obviously, like in your coaching, we're not naming like 7 voices.
right.
And like it was just like, wow, like all of those voices have your interest in mind. They just want to protect you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So that was really refreshing. So in our session, we talked about the firefighter voice and
Mhm.
the manager voice. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh my God, all this time, I thought my manager voice was my higher self.
Mhm.
So that was like an aha moment for me. The manager kind of is that like over analyzing voice, like,
Mhm.
let's fucking go, let's be
Mhm.
motivated, let's have another
Mhm.
coffee, let's work for another hour. It wants to push. Um,
Yep.
and the firefighter, for me, like if I'm overwhelmed, I also have an open head and ajna and want to
Mhm.
overanalyze. I tell myself like if I just give it more time, like something even better would land. But then I overwhelm myself. So the firefighter is like, you don't have to do this. Let's just chill.
Yep.
And I just
Yep.
freeze. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, so being able to identify, like, okay, that's my manager, that's my firefighter, and there's me, it feels less
Mhm.
personal. Okay, so I wonder because when I first found my human design, I didn't love it. Um,
Right.
I was like, what? A projector? Emotional authority? Are you telling me I'm like too emotional? But it also on some level is like, oh, there are some really cool like incarnation cross and gates and some of this I do like. Um, and I think you've mentioned before, like, it's a little challenging sometimes for people to be like, okay, this is my authentic self.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's important to realize, like, yes, you have like your astrology and your human design, like numerology, all of those different tools. And they are kind of like your manual for this lifetime. Um,
Yep.
but each chart also, like every placement in astrology, every gate, it has like lower expression and higher expression, right? So you can be living your chart at like the quote unquote like gift frequency where you're like expressing the higher traits, or you can be more in like the shadow frequency where you're like kind of in the shadow traits.
Yes.
So
Uh-huh.
there's no bad chart. Um,
Mm.
so I thought that was like really refreshing. Like we are given this manual to be like, oh, who am I supposed to be? What gifts do I have? So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and I think that what's helpful is that it's really about awareness. It's about understanding every part of you that is trying to take the lead. And when you
Mm,
can recognize, like, there are times in my day where I will say, okay, I am pushing. This is hard. My manager's here. Her name is the control tower. When I can call her out and say, like, okay, you're here. I'm going to pause for a second. And any way does this feel like not a full body yes, because I have a sacral center? It allows me to just slow down. If I find myself feeling like my to do list is just too overwhelming, and instead I want to pick up my phone and look at Instagram, I know that my avoider firefighter is here, and I can pause, create that space, right? That's that gap of knowing versus doing, and decide right then and there, what am I going to do? And let me tell you, Sandy, there are times where I'm like, I don't have it in me to go to pivot. But just the fact that I know, like, okay, I'm going to let my control tower keep going, I don't feel bad about it. And I don't think that we should shame ourselves. It's awareness, it's data, it's looking at, like, what's the Maya Angelou quote? Like, when you can know better, you can do better. So
mm,
sometimes it's just purely like, all right, well, next time I'll try it in a different way.
I think that's important that you pointed it out because sometimes the manager voice can be so overwhelming. It's like I technically know is the manager voice is the I like how you said is the control tower, but you don't feel like in that moment you have a different choice.
Yeah, and I think that that's also, I think what you had said is that, like, there's a sense of relatability to me because I'm doing the work right alongside with you, right? My
Mm,
managers show up, my firefighters show up every single day, right? It's, to me, when we think of like self-development, it's a practice just like yoga, right? Like,
mm.
I am practicing being my 24 mg self. Every day I have to practice being her. And what helps me get more connected to her is when I start the day. And sometimes I'll look at a photo of, like, on my 40th birthday, for example, I felt really magnetic that day. I just felt everything that lights me up, like my girlfriends, everything about it. There's a photo of me. And when I feel disconnected from myself, I'll go back to that photo and I will look at her and I will connect with her. That's me basically saying to my protector parts, to the interferences, like, I'm in the driver's seat today and I'm going to acknowledge the different parts that might show up. But, today, not today. Today, I'm taking the lead.
That is such a good practice. And remember, years ago, you share that practice, looking at a photo of yourself and kind of reminding you what your authentic self feels like.
We can expand ourselves, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with seeing somebody and looking at them um as an expander, right? Someone that you want to emulate. It's also very important to expand yourself. And when I look at this photo, it's not just about how I look, but I can truly tap into, how did I feel that day? What was it? And can I connect to her, even if it's for a short period? Um, Half of the day. It doesn't even need to be the whole day, right? But, like, being able to connect with a version of you that has happened before. It could be 5 years ago, it could be 10 years ago, it could have been yesterday. It's just that practice of connecting to yourself is sets the tone for being able to create that gap between you and your interference.
Mm, yeah, that is a really good practice. And as you were saying that, I remember when I first started doing self development, honestly, the term authentic self meant nothing to me. Um,
I know, I
and
know.
I was prompted to kind of, I think it was what you said. Um, I thought about like, oh, like it's crazy. This is like 10 years ago. But in
I know.
2016, I remember just like really wanting this job at this specific company in a specific city. Well, it was actually like Orange County. Like I wanted to move
Mm-hmm.
there. I wanted to work there. And I applied for the job, not super attached. Like I just applied. And I was reaching out to recruiters. I was talking to people. I don't know what was driving. Maybe I was just younger and not overthinking. Um, and I just drove down to the interview, got the job, and I just moved. All of that happened within a week. And when I think about my magnetic self, I'm like, oh my God, I love that version of me that just took action and figured out as she like went on.
I mean, and you could probably totally dissect that, right? Is like, what was your if you go back to your chart, like your human design chart or even your astrology, like what parts in there were you or, I said parts, but what I really mean is like, looking at your design, like what areas were activated. And then you can see, were you clearly didn't have any interference, right? There wasn't any part of you trying to keep you safe. You were truly were in the driver's seat. And so it's really great to be able to go back to think, what did I do when, right? Like when you received the big things that you were calling in, when you're doing different things, who was showing up? How can I replicate that? Like what was a pattern? I mean, again, it's going back to data and looking to see who is showing up and who is driving, and how do we get back there now? What is in the way from us doing exactly that all over again? If you did it before, you can do it again. It's just there's a good chance that you have a protector part trying to keep you safe, so something feels risky, something feels uncertain, and there's nothing wrong with uncertainty. And I feel like if we can build resilience in that feeling of uncertainty, it allows us to trust ourselves.
Okay. Actually, I wanted to ask you this because I saw on your either email or Instagram that you shared you don't need certainty to move forward. You need enough self trust to stay self led while you don't know. And I was like, oh my God, like that's that's chef's kiss. So can you
Thank you.
elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. So I want to just kind of define a little bit. So being self-led, that is part of internal family systems. That's kind of the term, which all that means is having your authentic self, your highest self, take the lead, be in the driver's seat. So being self-led is just another way of saying, being authentic. So
Mm.
the reason why we don't have to have as much fear, right? We're human, we're going to feel that. But instead of it, let it being paralyzing and just anxiety driven of fear, is that if you know, okay, I might not know the answer, right? I know that I want to do X, Y, and Z, and I don't quite know how I'm going to get there. So instead of spinning out and freaking out, knowing like, but I know who is driving. I know that my 2-4 manifesting generator self is going to be using her sacral center to make decisions. She's going to be responding to the things that come in. She is going to be looking to see, is she feeling satisfied and fulfilled along the way? I'll be looking to see if things feel frustration. So I know that's my not self. It's truly looking all along the way of data points, right? Anytime it feels like you're going back to that mud, going back to that, the difference between traffic and being on the Autobahn, right? Of just the freeway and going fast and flow and ease versus being in bumper to bumper traffic and that mud is the interference. And interference is going to step in anytime there feels uncertainty and risk because it feels like, hold on, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. So let me step in, right? Either from a controlling perspective, right? That's that manager, that overanalyzing, or this is too uncomfortable, so let's not feel anything at all, which is that firefighter. Let's numb, let's avoid. And so the reason why you can feel more comfortable in uncertainty is because you can trust that anything that comes along the way, you know how to respond to it using your human design blueprint.
I love that. Your human design is actually so useful when you talk about it like that.
I think that that's honestly, I know I sound like I'm drinking the human design Kool-Aid, and I get it, but it's because it's been such a game changer in identification, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, another big part of my practice is values and
Mm-hmm.
understanding. And another way to say that is your vital needs or your authentic code. I mean, all of these words can be interchanged, but it's
Right.
understanding like your truest held beliefs, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
when we take what our values are, we know what our human design is, it gives us this opportunity for a filtering system. And again, I know my brain goes into like so much like data and analytics, but it's like instead of just trying to like throw, what is it, like dart against a wall, or I'm not saying like the right like analogy, like, you know,
Spaghetti against the wall.
but yes, thank you. To me, yes, there's like learning opportunities in throwing this spaghetti. But if I'm going to go back to being efficient and if I want to go back to not wasting my time, I want to look to see how much information do I have about myself to be able to move forward in a way that's going to get me there in a direct path. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. Yes. And I love how you said it's important that we expand ourselves. And, with social media, I feel like external expanders, there's so many that it almost feels
Yes.
overwhelming, but that's valuable, right? Like if you feel envy or jealous of somebody, what they do or what
Mm-hmm.
they have, is just like letting you know, oh, perhaps I want this for myself. Perhaps I have it in me and is eager to be expressed. Um, but like to expand yourself with a past version of self, that is like very refreshing. Is like, I love what you said, like if I've done it before I can do it again, because maybe you remember in our first session I'm like, I wish I could just feel the fear and do it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have, because look at what you just said, that you decided to move to Orange County. You wanted the job. I mean, like you've done it before. You can absolutely do it again, you know? And I think that again, this is not spiritual bypassing, but I'm so tired of myself and anyone else that I hear blaming somebody else. Everything is a choice. Yes, outside factors play a part, and I do believe that there's room for inner child work, which we both have done. I think that's important. But at some point, it's very important to say what is in the way right now. Not what was in the way then, but right now. And what data, now I sound like a data nerd. What data do I have right now that's going to help me move the needle? And not in a um, fake way, not in a spiritual bypass, like fake it till you make it, like pretend you've got the check before you do. I don't mean it like that, but
Mm-hmm.
truly looking to see, what do I want? What do I need? What's missing? What's in the way? What feels hard? How am I making it hard? I love asking myself these questions. It's so important because sometimes we just want to either blame or go to outside factors, when if we just take an opportunity to pause and ask ourselves, there's a pretty good chance that answer is going to show up.
Mm. No, I like that. As you said before, like when we do like healing work, inner child work, shadow work, it does feel really overwhelming. Um, and I remember like I try to do those things and I almost felt like I'm never going to fix those things about myself.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, and with your approach, it's like, okay, we're still like honoring like, hey, like maybe there's a wounded inner child
Yep.
aspect, but let me approach
Yep.
this with neutrality like an adult.
Yes. Yes. And here's the thing. I believe that there's a time and space and room for all of that healing. I really do. Where I am as a coach, I'm helping people who have already done that, right? Who have
Mm,
already taken the opportunity. I find that people come to me as kind of like, I'm almost there. There's a missing piece. I just can't quite see it. I feel like I'm on an up level and I can't see what's in the way. That feels kind of like my sweet spot. When people are like, I have so much mental clutter happening, I just need some space. And I find that I'm kind of I'm kind of the housekeeper, right? I come in and clear that clutter and really kind of um, help discern what information do we need to hold on to and what can you just let go. I had a girlfriend call me the other day. She was on her way to like a huge important meeting and she called and she's like, I'm in the car and you're the only person I thought of that I could call right now. I can't decide what I should do. And no joke, Sandy, within minutes, I mean, I know her human design because obviously she's a friend of mine. So I was able just to distill immediately. We just went to me asking yes and no questions. She's an MG. She's got emotional authority. So we were able to to remember like if she's feeling activated, there's in no way was she going to go where she needed to go and make that decision. But once she could calm down, like what it was, I also knew what her intention was and we were able to see um, was this going to be in line with it. And she said afterwards like that was so easy. And so I feel like the way that I coach is about simplicity. It's about curating clarity. And I know that sounds silly, but I don't believe that clarity just comes out of thin air. I truly think that we have to curate it. And when we think about what does curate mean, that means creating it, right? Of like looking at all of the pieces and putting it together. And I mean, we're essentially, our life is a puzzle piece. And so we've got to
mm,
move things and figure out like where everything goes. And sometimes we just need a little extra help.
yeah, yeah. Um, no, I love that because for whatever reason, maybe it's just like the culture we're in today. We feel like we should always have that clarity whenever we need
Right.
it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I used to be a CPA and I have an analytical brain too. So
Mm-hmm.
looking at those experiences as data actually feels really good because, so much of spirituality or in that space, people talk about, oh, just trust the universe. And I'm like, well, that sounds kind of hard. So with what you just said, like, seeing all of those things as data, looking at your human design, like looking at your energy type signposts, your authority, your open centers, like the different protector voices, that makes me feel like I have a really resourceful toolbox, actually.
Yeah. And it's so funny that you said that because I feel like um, every single session that I do with someone, I use different tools and it's all personalized. But at the end of the day, it still has the overarching pillars becoming self led, right? By using human design, detaching from interference, creating that space, right? Because that gap is uncomfortable and then creating momentum with intentional actions. I feel like aligned action is a buzzword. I use it myself. I want to say that. But when we think about it being intentional, it's what type of action do I need to take right now? The action could literally just be identifying the interference, right? It doesn't
Mm,
necessarily mean like, burning it down and quitting the job or moving across the country. I mean,
Yeah.
intentional action is going to be different with everybody. Um, and I think that that's what's so fun about coaching is knowing that every single person I'm going to connect with is going to get something different, but still has that overarching concept of, you know, again, stepping into the driver's seat. And sometimes before we can do that, there's a little house cleaning we have to do, a little clearing of the mental chatter and the clutter. And there's just so much noise out there. And so if we can just distill it down a little bit, it really helps us um, move the needle.
Yeah. No, like when we had our first session, you compared, like the five highway bumper to bumper traffic to like the carpool lane. I was like, okay, I get it now. Okay, amazing. Um, I know we are almost at time. I would really love for you to let people know what offers you have going
Mhm.
on. I know you are able to book a 30-minute call to pick your brain, which I think is so cool. So, how can people find you, learn from you, and yeah, work with you if they feel guided to do that?
All right. So on Instagram, I haven't entered any of the other social media world yet. Someday I'll get on TikTok. But right now you can find me on Instagram. It's at underscore Heather Whitaker underscore. My website is heatherwhitakercoaching.com. And on the website is where you can see all the different services. I have it linked to Acuity. Right now, what I'm finding is that people like to book a package. So 3 sessions is great because, which is what you and I are doing together. It allows us to kind of grow a little bit in looking at to see how can we become self-led at the beginning? How can we start to detach from these parts? And then what does the roadmap look like? I also have a one-off session, right? I call it the missing piece because something is not quite there, right? Like, what is it that you can't see? I've got, the 15-minute free intro call. I understand that it's sometimes you want to make sure that you feel connected to somebody. Although I show up on Instagram as completely as myself, um, and I think that you can attest to that. Sometimes somebody might just need to just say, "Hey, like, are you a good fit?" And I want to honor that. Like you
Hmm.
said, I do have a 30-minute pick your brain. And so what does that mean? It's like you've got one question, right? It's like I can't quite make that decision. Think of it as like that call with my girlfriend that called that said, I know you can help me figure this out. I mean, 30 minutes is plenty of time to do it. I also have containers. I have a client right now that we're working together over 12 weeks. Um, and it's pretty exciting. And I don't think I've gotten a chance to share this with you. So she recently got a new job and she wants to kill it in her job. And so what we're doing is we are looking at everything. We're taking her values, we're looking at all of these different protector parts. It's going to make her feel like maybe she can't be as capable or as adequate. We're looking at her human design, and she's particularly in sales. And so we are looking at how she should be making decisions and how she's going to receive these sales. And so I'm really excited because we are basically looking at it from every single angle that we can to have her have the most abundant year that she's ever had. So pretty excited about that. Um, and yeah, I mean, I have a newsletter that, as you know, that because you receive that, is what I try to do is I try to take the week of everything I've shared on Instagram and kind of sum it up. Because, we're all busy. We can't see everything, but it's been kind of nice to also just look back to say, like, what have I been talking about? And how can I share that in a way that feels clear and concise and relatable?
Yeah, I actually love reading those. Like, I actually read those.
Oh, yay.
Yeah,
Thank
they're
you
good.
so much.
Yeah, and you always send it the right time. It's like you send it like in the beginning of the new year, was just like, oh, before you set your 2026 goals, like think about those things. And I was like, whoa. Okay, great. I'll leave all of the links in the show notes, and I highly
Great.
recommend the 3 session package if you're,
Thank
thinking
you.
about it. Book a call with Heather if you're just wanting to get a vibe check. Okay, thank you so much, Heather. This is amazing. You're amazing. Yeah, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Sandy. I appreciate it.